All right, hey friends, we're back with another episode of the Pigeon Whole Motorcycle Podcast. I am speaking with this evening John Ryland, the creator and founder of Classified Moto in Richmond, Virginia. Is that right, bud?
Yeah, Richmond, East.
Nice. So everything that I've read about you and all these stories, they make your shop in Richmond there sound like you're in this remote area that we have to fight zombies off to get into.
Yeah, it's actually real close to downtown. It's in an old mule barn. It was built in the 1800s, and no air conditioning, no heat. We sort of have to just deal with it in the winter and the summer. But yeah, it's really cool. Nothing else looks like it, as far as motorcycle shops go. So it's been fun being here. We've been here about, I guess we're going on our 6th year. So
Nice.
But it's a pretty special place when people find it.
Yeah. Did you choose a place on purpose that didn't have air conditioning or heat?
I think we chose it based on price, which, as you can imagine, is a lot cheaper when it doesn't have those things. But yeah, we've made it pretty livable now. But yeah, a friend of ours, knew a friend who had this place, and it's worked out great.
So
But yeah,
it's a
definitely
cool looking place from the photos.
thanks, man. Yeah. That's ever since I was in my garage, my little garage in the suburbs. I would realize we want to take pictures of our bikes, but you shoot this angle and it looks cool. Shoot this angle and there's some ugly stuff in it. So we're always trying to make it look so wherever you shoot, it looks pretty cool.
That's
So
right, and it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, take me a little bit about your background. Like, where do you come from? I did read that haven't always been a motorcycle guy.
Yeah. I don't know how far you want to go back, but I'll go back to when I was a small child growing up in Virginia.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about anything mechanical at all. My dad wasn't, that wasn't his thing. We had a toolbox that had just a couple items in it, like some kind of tack hammer and
Sounds like my house.
Yeah. I did everything with pliers. You want to tighten the hub on your bike to change or put your chain back on, you just get the pliers out and squeeze. But so anyway, I didn't know anything about anything until I got married when I was pretty young and moved to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and we met this guy down there who just kind of demystified all the mechanical stuff for me until recently. Now it's all a mystery again. So, but that was. I kind of credit him for kind of getting me into anything mechanical. So I moved back and got into cars and autocrossing and racing cars and things like that. And then it wasn't until quite a while later that a buddy of mine in advertising he was going on a job, and he left me his motorcycle because he was convinced that I would love it. And I was like, yeah. I just didn't care about bikes. I'd never seen anything that really did anything for me, like sport bikes or choppers and all that stuff. I was like, whatever. But then I rode he had I call it the Barbie dream bike. It was a Suzuki DR. It looked like a jet ski. It was white and had yellow and purple and all the different 90s colors. And drove around in February, got my license, and then, kind of got hooked ever since. And that's just, I'd already gotten into working on cars and stuff. So bikes were just a logical progression. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. And did I read it correctly? 40 years old, you started your motorcycle
yeah, that's probably
obsession, right. Or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I'm 50 now, and yeah, so at 40, I kind of guess I got into bikes, or maybe a little bit a year before that or something. But 47, I learned how to do a wheelie, so there you go. There's still hope.
Hey, you've got a long way to go, brother. That's right. It's all uphill. So explain to me. So what are the first? Okay, if you want to know about John, he's a really freaking interesting Google search. I can tell everybody that. So I started going through stuff, and then there's a couple things that stood out to me. Tell me how. It seems like the CNN interview that you had was a pretty life changer.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally out of the blue, and it actually came because I did something that's very uncharacteristic of myself. there was a guy in Richmond, his name is Matt Crawford, and he wrote a book called Shop Class of Soulcraft. And it was a New York Times bestseller. And I knew he was in Richmond and he had a little shop here somewhere. But, you know, a friend of mine gave me his book and I read it, and it just had so much cool stuff to say about working with your hands and just the, you know, the value of trades and things like that, where we sort of live in this society where you're not smart unless you're a stockbroker or doctor or something. But yeah, so I just loved what he had to say about it. And I emailed him and was like, hey, nerded out. And I was like, you know, I'm in Richmond, you're in Richmond, we both deal with bikes, and I loved your book, you know, can I take you out to lunch? And we did, and then we became, you know, great buddies after that. Wow. So about a week later, 2 weeks later, this is after, you know, I'd gotten laid off just maybe a month earlier from my advertising job, which I'll tell you all about later if you want to hear. Yeah. He called me, he was like, hey man, CNN wants to do an interview with me about, you know, they're doing a series about kind of following your dreams in the down economy. You know, this is back then. So he's like, I don't want it. Doesn't really apply to me because he's a famous author. He said, but would you want to do it? It's going to be on Anderson Cooper's, you know, 360 show. I was like, yeah, I think I will. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Maybe 3 days later, the whole crew was there shooting in my garage. And after that, a lot of people saw that interview because they ran it over and over. And yeah, it's really cool because I got probably more emails and questions about just the sort of inspirational part of it than I did about bikes, you know, because I think most people could tell I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And when it came to bikes, but they're like, well, somehow you landed on CNN, you know, so you must know something. So yeah, that was kind of a big deal in the timeline.
You know, it's funny because you trace your steps back in life, and you know, a lot of people call it dumb luck or whatever. If you wouldn't have had the balls to pick up the phone to call this author,
right?
Who knows?
Exactly.
I think that's some good advice for people listening too. Is not be afraid of something. If you think something, just fucking do it.
Yeah. No, I think people are getting better and better about that, and I wonder, like, if I had done that all my life, you know, where would I be? But a lot of people are not afraid at all to pick up the phone and ask you for everything you've ever learned about everything for free, which is great, but I just don't have the balls to do that.
Well, I'm glad you had the balls to make that phone call. So at that time in your shop, were you building your lamps and things at that time?
Yeah, because I kind of just started the shop when I was still in advertising, and, you know, really starting to get disenchanted with that whole lifestyle, you know, and kind of started Classified on the side, and had built some bikes for my friends in the advertising agency. And then just kind of stumbled across this design while I was working on a bike one time for this lamp. I was like, man, that looks like it should be a lamp. And made one, and made another one, and they really took off. I think I haven't pushed them as much lately because as much as I like them, whenever I get an order, I'm like, damn, now I got to make this thing. And I think we've made about 12 or 1,300 of them at this point. And
holy shit,
you know, safe to say, if I never made another lamp, it would be too soon. But
so I shouldn't ask you for a lamp today.
If I can find one around here that's already made, you can have it.
Yeah, but that's cool. So you sold 1,500 or so of those?
I think it's about 13. Yeah, I kind of lost count after a while, so I started a new series and started renumbering them. So now they're up to 40 or something. So.
Do you know, I watched a YouTube video, and John's making a lamp, and then he's getting ready to, you know, pack it up and ship it out, and he's engraving the bottom and what number it is. So when I was watching that, I went, I would totally suck at this. There'd be like 14 100s, you know. Yeah. I would totally lose track.
Well, that's what I had to kind of do. That one in the video went to Jay Leno. And that's the one we just kind of talk about doing something that, you know, probably a waste of time. But yeah, that was awesome. We made this lamp, and then we got somebody to shoot the process, the whole thing, where I go to the junkyard and find it, and then, you know, clean the stuff up and make the lamp, engrave it. And then for Jay's version, we had it, you know, addressed in the box to him, and then stuck it on a little thumb drive in the box. And then so we figured we never hear anything, and then I'm just, you know, minding my business one day, and I got an unknown call on my phone, and then I got a message. You know, I just never answered my phone anyway, But got this message. He's like, "Hey guys, it's Jay Leno." He's like, "Thanks for the sweet lamp." He's like, "It's really awesome. If you're ever out this way, you know, you got to come see me." I'm like, "Okay." He said, "All right, well, I'll try you back." I was like, "What? You're gonna call me back because you missed me?" Right. It was just totally bizarre. But then I was out to dinner with some friends, and I get the same unknown number. I was like, I gotta take this.
I gotta get this.
So I took it, and I talked to him for 5 minutes out on the sidewalk, and he's just the nicest guy ever. And he said again, come out and to see me if you're ever out here. I'll give you the tour of the garage and stuff. And
oh my God!
I thought, at the time, I didn't think to be like, and how exactly do I get in touch with you?
Right.
But we somehow got in touch with his assistant when we were going to be out there shooting a show, a Cafe Racer TV show. And we ended up getting into the green room at the show and watching the Tonight Show. And he came out and sat on the bike, and he was a super nice guy. And then so that kind of made my year.
Hell yeah. That is crazy. So he didn't know about a lamp? So you sent him the lamp just because
he's a car guy, and I knew he would appreciate it probably.
Yeah. And then you put the video on the thumb drive inside it.
Yeah. And I don't know if he ever
genius.
saw it, but he might have. So.
Yeah, that's genius though, man. That's super cool.
Yeah, I was just shocked that he was, that guy. How much stuff does he have to do in a day? And that he would call me to thank me. First of all, awesome. But he missed me, so he's going to call me back. Which I was totally blown away. But yeah, so that was fun.
That's insane. And were you at the new shop then?
No, that was when we were still in our garage. Yeah, that video, I'm still in my little 2-car garage in the West End, Richmond.
So you had some really kick-ass stuff going while you were in your garage there.
Yeah. I mean, it got a lot more crazy, and the quality level went up a lot. When I hired Donick. Because he just, he's like a sponge for knowledge and just is really good at everything. At that point, when I hired him, I could sort of tell that some of the fun was over for me, because I just sort of put all my efforts into making sure that he got what he needed. And I sort of took on the things that were less fun. But then again, I'd get to go, build a Walking Dead bike or something like that. So it all leveled out.
That's crazy stuff. So let's talk about. I keep seeing the word AltMoto. So explain AltMoto.
Yeah, well, that was back. When I first got into bikes, like I said, I'd never seen anything that really did anything for me until I started seeing like bikes from Wrench Monkeys, and then Deus in Australia at the time, and that stuff was really cool. It's like sort of rough around the edges, but real. Artistically done, but it wasn't a chopper. It wasn't necessarily even a cafe racer. It's just kind of this cool little vibe that they had. And that was like, yeah, I totally would ride one of those. And
right.
The only thing that had really gotten me sort of stoked about motorcycles. So at the time, American Chopper and stuff was in full swing. So I didn't want to, if I was writing on a blog about it, I didn't want to just leave it at custom motorcycles, because that triggers something in everybody's head of, choppers and chrome and all that. And so I just kind of started calling it AltMoto, but that's all it is. It's just something, it's not the typical, sort of sport bike culture or chopper culture. It's just kind of its own thing.
Right. So you have some new parts on bikes and some antique parts, and started putting kind of everything together?
Yeah, that was the original idea. The whole reason I got sort of obsessed with it is I'd always liked the idea of getting like an old car and putting a new motor in it, and what they would call, I guess, a resto mod now.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of taking an old bike and putting those sweet gold sport bike forks on it. Mm-hmm. And I knew from the beginning there's probably no real advantage to doing that except it looks sweet.
It does look cool.
But I have never been one to, apologize for that. Like, it looks cool. That's why I did it.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the thing that people first saw, I think, about Classified, is that they were doing that. And now everybody's doing that, and not to brag, but I invented that shit. I'm just kidding. I didn't. But I found one place when I wanted to do it. Later, I saw that Deus had done it on a bike too. But I was just obsessed with this thing. Like, how do you do this? And talking to all these, bike guys and machine shops and stuff. And I couldn't find any real information on it except this one place called G Spot Customs.
Nice.
They
nice.
had done it.
I need to talk to them or see pictures of them.
Yeah. It was, the bike was like I think it had dirt bike forks on it. It looked sort of like an Evel Knievel paint scheme, but it had, inverted forks on it. And I was like, they figured it out. But yeah, it was funny just seeing those guys because their take on things was so different. It was kind of like, it's my way or the highway, expletives in their taglines and stuff. But yeah, that just kind of gave me, at the time I just needed to know that somebody had done it before and then went on and figured out how to do it. So, and pretty much every bike we've done has had some form of that mod on it. But yeah,
I know a lot of them have the gold forks on there, right? Or all of them do?
Not all of them. Okay. No, I mean, but most of them have inverted forks unless it's some kind of special, we've done one or two bikes that retain the regular forks. But yeah, it's kind of our style now. And I've always been a proponent for Classified of try to do stuff that's cool, but also try to do stuff that's recognizable as your brand, Yeah,
there's no doubt that your bikes definitely have a signature look. That's for sure. And it's just cool stuff. So as you're building this, you catch the eye. Oh my gosh, now I'm having a problem remember his name. Walking Dead.
Yeah, Norman Reedus.
Thank you. I was like, So how did that come about?
That story was funny because at the time I had a Twitter account. I still do, I guess, but I never use it. But one day I noticed that I was getting all these followers that had some form of Reedus in their name, like Mrs. Norman Reedus or blah, blah, blah. Reedus fan, 208. And then I got an email from a guy named Norman Reedus. And at the time I'd seen Boondock Saints and, had seen Walking Dead before, but I didn't know Norman's name. So, right. And I realized he's like, hey, this is Norman Reedus. I love your bikes and want to get one. What do I have to do? And I was super busy that week and just, kind of didn't register with me that that's Norman Reedus.
Right.
So anyway, I realized my mistake, a week later that I had ignored this guy and scrambling to try to find, out how to get in touch with him. And eventually he hit me back and we built him an XP 920, that we sort of were known for. And then about a year later, maybe he came back and he said, I got a project that involves the show. Would you be interested in doing that? It's another no-brainer. Yes, of course.
Yes.
But he told me that Scott Gempel, who's the showrunner, would be calling me about it. And Scott, I talked to him for about an hour on the phone, and he said the storyline had Daryl Dixon, Norman's character, building a bike for himself because they had finally, made it to this little sanctuary, and he had some time, and he hadn't had a motorcycle for a while, so he wanted to build something.
I can picture the scene in my head just because I was a huge Walking Dead fan.
Yeah. It was funny because it was a real fun, creative conversation because Scott had a lot of input on it, but they also just liked what we did, so I didn't have to worry about having to say no to a lot of stuff or doing stuff begrudgingly because they just really liked what we were doing. And
cool.
But I was like, I'd ask him questions like, is he building this like with zombies trying to get him? Like, is this literally is cobbled together so he can, make a break for it? Or does he have some time to kind of make it his own? And that it was the latter. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So you still retained your creative freedom on that too.
Yeah. And it really did look like bikes that we already made, just not, we don't usually purposely, bang them up and stuff like that, but we don't necessarily take the dings out if they're, of a certain aesthetic.
Sure.
So yeah, it was fun.
Wow. That's crazy. So you got a good jump start on everything. If you look back, like so what kind of advertising stuff did you do at your job?
I was a copywriter and art director, started out in the studio at this agency in town. It's pretty big. And studio you just do Photoshop and, comp stuff up and, prepare stuff for meetings and all that stuff. And you don't usually get to move into the creative department from that job. They tell you right away, don't do this thinking that you're going to, go make commercials.
Right.
But somehow I did. So like,
nice.
Yeah. My buddy and I were working on we did these goofy videos every once in a while for these parties that we'd have. And the president of the company at the time saw him and he was like, hey, would you guys be interested in, somebody's always coming to me saying, hey, would you be interested in this amazing opportunity? Like, yes.
Yes.
Yes. But they were going to pitch at the time, Miller, a genuine draft. And he said, do you want to get in on that? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we pitched it. He and I were a team, and Todd, I love him. He was my partner. So I'm like a studio artist, and he is a junior planner at the agency. His first job at the agency was to dress up like a Yellow Pages phone book and walk around on college campuses.
Oh my God.
So next thing you know, we're pitching this giant beer campaign, and we won, within the agency, and then we beat out 5 other huge agencies. And so they had to make us creatives at that point because
kick ass.
Yeah. So, but that was fun. I already forgot what the question was, but hey.
No, that pretty sums up your whole. That's great though. So this is your love for video and everything.
Yeah, I like that stuff just as much, I think, as the bike side, and it's great to be able to combine the two things that you're really into.
Yeah, so anybody out there who hasn't checked out your YouTube page is in for some fun, to say the least. So I went through and so I started with Restricted. Was that your first? Is that?
Yeah, that's the series we did. We've done 4 episodes of that so far. Okay, and then there are other random things on there. Like Restricted is kind of mostly about bikes, and there's usually one particular bike that we're talking about, and then Upstairs is just, we do so much goofy stuff here, which karaoke and have bands and stuff play here. So that's Upstairs is more for people who are interested in more than just bikes. Okay,
so I found it very funny because you're a very tongue-in-cheek humor guy, which I'm a huge fan of. Your narrations over the video are great. And also the one episode of Upstairs that I watched, you said people were complaining because there was too much music and not enough bikes.
Right.
And then you brought your bikes on stage.
Yeah.
With the disco lights and everything going.
Probably one of our best, or our most watched ones too.
Yeah, that is seriously funny. Seriously funny. I thought it was great. And then I moved on to karaoke across the United States, or your karaoke trip.
Yeah. Yeah, we're Upstairs. That's what I just came down here to do. Matt and I are working on the part 2 of that one, but it's just so funny looking at that stuff because we'll just start looking at stuff that we're like, people are going to hate this, man. This is going to be terrible. But we do it anyway.
And you know what? Those are the things that, why are you guys doing this? Because we can.
Yeah. Right.
And you got to have fun with it.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes Matt, he's my videographer and editor. He and I will just we'll have to really ask each other, is this going to are people going to hate this or they're going to love this? And it's usually sort of in between. You either love it or you hate it. So.
Well, either way, you'll get views on it and people will keep watching it, whether they love it or they hate it. So that was a trip you guys left from your shop, and then you were going to a show on that. Where were you guys going? Yeah,
we were going out to Portland to the One Moto show. Yeah, which is happening here in a couple of weeks again.
Yeah.
I don't think we can make it unless some miracle happens, but
we'll make a miracle happen. Let's come hang out there. I'm making it out to Portland. If I can make it with 3 kids, then you got to make it.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I know I sort of just used my time and money budget for traveling with that trip, and then I rode across country just the end of the summer on a bike we called Frank, which is this Triumph Speed Triple. That's not made for cruising, 3,800 miles or whatever.
Wow.
So I just almost can't even think about, hopping back in the buggy. But yeah, that show we did because we knew we were going to drive across country. And I love the one show at CC Motorcycles and Tor Drake. Those guys are just awesome.
They are.
And, but yeah, so we were going to do that and taking this Yamaha that we built But we wanted to do karaoke at every, pretty much every night. We wanted to do it at a different place. So it worked out pretty well.
All right. So what's your go-to karaoke song? What's your favorite?
Man, it used to be The Gambler by Kenny Rogers, but I think I might have worn it out a little bit. Yeah. So,
moving on.
Yeah, I like You Really Got Me by Van Halen.
Yeah.
Because I hope he's not listening, but it sounds better than David Lee Roth does now. I don't know if you've caught him in Vegas, but man, I love him so much, and it just broke my heart.
That's awesome, though.
Thing.
No, and he is still doing his thing, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's just like it's good to see him keep going. All right, so I also had a note on here. So you said Virgin Islands before. So you moved there with your wife? How do you end up in the Virgin Islands, like out of everywhere that you could end up? Well,
I think that was kind of the idea. It's like, if we can end up anywhere, where do you want to end up? I'm like, Virgin Islands, man. And we were both at VCU, and we decided, she was going to finish school. I didn't, because I wasn't very good at school. But then we said, where can we start? And I had been there on vacation with my parents, a year or so earlier. And so we just decided that's where we were going to go. So we were there 2.5 years, and it was great, but it was a really, really interesting way to spend a couple of years. Cause it was eye opening, cause there, I'm the minority in the Virgin Islands, and it's at times it was like hostile, like what did he just say to me? That kind of thing. But it was really kind of, not that it was fun, but it was, I had never been in a situation like that you could see, like, man, that's what it must have been like, before civil rights and all that stuff and after. So anyway, it was an awesome place to visit, and live for maybe a year. But by the time we moved, we were just as happy to be moving back as we had been to go there. So just kind of hard. It's sort of a third world kind of vibe, and just everything is harder than it is. But you also get to go out, crystal clear water and drive to the British Islands in a rental boat, and, have made great friends and everything. So don't regret it.
Wow. So do you consider yourself more of a designer, a creator, a machinist? What do you think you're most of?
As far as I'm concerned, machinist would be on this huge far end of the spectrum that I am not.
Okay.
And designer is really not even that either, but I definitely get little visions for things, and I'm like, this would be sweet if you did that. And but yeah, it's bikes. I kind of got excited about that, 10 years ago or whatever, but it's always been something, whether it was boats or cars. I've got like this drag racing minivan that I have that's, fastest car I've ever owned, but I just like it because it's ridiculous. And so I just think that would be fun, or that would be hilarious. Like, I'd rather have a $5,000 turbo minivan than a $100,000 Lamborghini, and at the car shows, they're all around that one instead of the Lamborghini anyways.
That's great. That's great. So is that your daily driver?
It will be, once again. But yeah, it's been off the road for years. I blew it up on the dyno, blew the turbo seals out of it. So I never wanted to part with it. Like, I'll never sell that car. If I have to sell it, that'll be the low point in my life. So
keep on trucking for that one.
Yeah.
The turbo minivan.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And another thing I like about you, man, is that I think through all this stuff, and it's great you're reading, I think good things come to you for a reason, when you're a likable guy, and you take your work very seriously, but you obviously don't take yourself too seriously all the time.
Clearly.
But it's cool, and I think that's what advice would you have for guys that are building now, or that were really trying to make a mark in this industry? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I like to try to give advice that doesn't sound like a get off my lawn kind of guy, but I know a lot of times it comes across that way. But the things I would say from a brand point of view, like, there's always this debate. If I've I've started huge fights by just saying something that I believed about branding, and which is, if you're just doing this because you like it, then you don't have to brand anything. You just build exactly what you like. But if you're doing it because you think you want to make it your business, then you have to at least consider the idea that, you know, about how are people going to know about what you're doing? How are they going to recognize yours versus somebody else's? So if there's something that you can do that allows you to have fun and be creative, but also maintain a signature look or something signature about your bikes, preferably something that people can see, you know, because
right.
a lot of super, super talented engine builders and, you know, bike guys that will just obsess over some tiny little thing and take it to a show. And that bike probably has, you know, hundreds more hours in it than somebody else's, but no one can really appreciate that. So again, it still deserves to be in the show because it's awesome. But if you're going to try to make it your business, you got to think about how people are going to know about you and what you really sort of stand for, you know, visually or however else. So I don't know what to tell them to, you know, what to do that, but find something that's yours and kind of, you know, make sure that stays with you through your career.
Right. So with that being said, how did you start with your designs, your bikes, your ideas, and how did you get people to see your work?
Well, having been in the advertising industry, I had a lot of friends who were really talented, you know, photographers or videographers and things like that. And they saw what I was doing, and people like, you know, if you build bikes, it's different than being maybe an accountant, because you don't have, when you're an accountant, you don't have people lining up to be like, hey, can I come photograph your work?
Right.
Not that it's not important, it's just not very photogenic, you know, so people get excited about bikes and cars and things like that. So I had all my buddies and, you know, that were happy to do it. And Adam Ewing is one of my best friends. He's been my photographer since the beginning, and he took photos of my first bikes, and they got on Bike Exif, which was a huge deal back then, still is. But that, just the way he made them look, you know, was just elevated it. Maybe unfairly, I don't know, but but people saw that first bike that we put on there. It was an XS650, and he just took these great photos of it, and it just makes you see it, you know. Whereas if I just took a shot of it myself, then probably nobody was going to look.
Yeah, having a good photographer is super important, especially getting stuff noticed.
Yeah, you should know. Sounds like
a little bit here and there.
Yeah, right. But that's, you know, you just can't fake that. I think even though I got a fancy iPhone now and I can do a lot of stuff, but you can't really fake what a real photographer knows how to do. So that was huge. And then, but I did know enough about branding and like just kind of tone, you know, like sometimes I watch young guys and they want to go after everybody who says something nasty about them online. And I mean, I don't know, in my old age, I guess I have said some things that I probably am like, I should just let that go, but I can't help but sort of like, if somebody's saying something really stupid, I can't help but snark at them, you know? But usually I do. But it's just one of those things that you have to kind of look at the big picture and go, do I want to be the guy who's going to, you know, bitch about everything? And, you know, that's how I kind of got into this, because when we were on Bike Exif, one builder in particular, just like, it enraged him that this guy, me, who didn't know anything about bikes, had done this thing, and that everybody's like, you know, thought it was the coolest thing ever because they hadn't seen something like that.
Sure.
And he took the approach of like, what the hell are you talking about? It's a piece of shit, you know, just like. And so we just had a little offline, you know, discussion about it, and I was kind of like, you know, I admire your work. I think it's great, but and I don't see why you gotta rip.
But you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everybody, and you know, that's those are the really insecure people that like to do that too.
Yeah, I guess
or scared.
It's funny.
It's not a competition. Everybody's doing their own thing.
Right. Yeah, that's why I love the one show, like we were talking about, the One Moto, because you go there and there's just this awesome vibe. Like everybody's just happy to be there. You know, you got the guys that are super excited for the first time they're in a show and they stand by their bike the whole time. You know.
I know.
And I'm like, I almost don't want to be like, it's too personal. Like I don't want to watch people like frowning at it, or I don't know. So,
well, most of the guys I've talked to, they go to a show and they leave their bike there, and then they go talk to everybody else.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Then you can imagine that there was this huge crowd around your bike.
Oh, and everybody loved it. Everybody loved everything about it.
That's right. They're probably looking for me right now to get my autograph.
Right. Or to take you out and back and beat the crap out of you.
Yeah,
either way, it's flattering.
I know. Oh,
I like those shows. I like those shows too because I'm not a fan. Maybe I haven't been around them enough, but I like the shows where people just come to show their work. I don't like, and first prize went to John and second prize went to, so it's enough competition anyway, being surrounded by your peers.
Right.
So it's just a friendly atmosphere, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't like them either because I never win anything. So I like the ones that are just for the fun of it. They give
you haven't lost one yet.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's funny. I think I saw one of your bikes. I've been to the Handbuilt for several years now. Have you had a bike at Handbuilt?
Yeah, we've been there a couple times, maybe a few times. The bike we built for Rebel Yell Bourbon, they're like one of our sponsors. We call it Frank. Frank is the speed triple that we drove across country, or I did.
Yeah.
Destroyed my butt for the rest of my life. But yeah, that one was in there, and then we had a KZ1000 in it the year before, and then I had a CB750 in it one year, and before that, it was actually, I think it was still the One Moto show. At one point, Handbuilt was the One Moto. It was like their traveling show, and we had a couple bikes in there cool. When it was still One Moto. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the one year I went, they had just a whole section for the Rebel Yell. Had all the Rebel Yell bikes in there. Was that bike in that section there?
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, Frank was in there. Revival had like a crazy Ducati with the the iridescent color, or the hot pink and green and all that with the sidecar.
Yeah.
And then
that was fun because they were driving that thing around everywhere too, weren't they?
Yeah, that thing. They took it to a track and jumping it and stuff. But we all rode together. Out. It was Flying Tiger, Gasser Customs, Greg Hagman, Revival, and us. And did I leave somebody out? I don't think so. But we all drove across from that time. We went from Spokane, Washington to Sturgis. So that whole crew of bikes that you saw in that little thing, we rode this all across. So that was really fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was probably crazy.
Yeah, Sturgis is that's just I don't even know how to describe it. I wasn't super stoked to be going to Sturgis because it's just not really my style. I figure anybody who likes karaoke and riding go-karts around the shop probably isn't going to love Sturgis, but we had a blast. It was great. But we had our own little, the Rebel Yell crew had their own little camp and everything. So we had our RVs and golf carts that they should never have given us to ride around Sturgis grounds. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. So we went a couple times. And
I haven't been to Sturgis. I would love to go there just for the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I even care. It's a big party, right?
Yeah. They have bands and everything. And yeah, it's just fun. It's just I just like working here, when you have your own business, you just have to do something all day, every day, and there's just never a time to really go on a vacation. So I really like the idea that, this is actually work, but when I'm here, I got this to do and this to do. But normally, otherwise, you're just going around being goofy and having a good time. And so that was therapeutic.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to step away like that, especially when you're such in a zone to get things done every single day. And to be out of the shop drives some folks crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Got this to do.
If I can be a certain distance away from the shop, then I can sort of let myself, relax a little bit. But if I'm an hour away, I'm I better get back and do this thing.
So if you invite John anywhere, make sure you get him to come at least 2-3 hours away, at least from Virginia.
Yes, please.
So
of course, I say,
go ahead.
When I say I got to do stuff, I hear myself say that I'm always so focused on work, but you think that I'll be in here tuning carbs and polishing cases and stuff, but I'm actually I just built a trap door in a bookcase to get upstairs to the where we do karaoke. That was one important task.
Those are important tasks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like realizing childhood dreams. There's something to be said for doing that. So.
Not everybody. I don't think I've talked to anybody that's a trapdoor to go upstairs to their karaoke room. Hey,
well,
so when you guys do that, do you invite a bunch of people over? Do you have like a party for karaoke, or was it just a bunch of your friends, or what?
Well, we built it out up there because we had a big party here. It was a Rebel event, and they had 2 bands, and there were probably 400 people here, and it was pouring down rain, and it was crazy, but really great. It went really well. But then we, had this whole stage and light show and PA and everything. So we just started doing karaoke, and it's like in Richmond, there's nothing that can touch it as far as like the experience.
Yes.
So people start showing up, and we'll have, I'll just tell a few people, and then sometimes it's 10 of us here. Sometimes, 100 people will show up. So, but the whole trapdoor thing is kind of funny because people who've come before, now they get here and they're like, how do I get in? Like, you pull the bottle, like a lever, and the door opens up.
So when we said you don't take yourself too seriously, I was the understatement of the fucking century.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have no idea.
That's great. So you guys just have fun over there. So it's nice to have somewhere you can go and enjoy the hell out of what you're doing, but still have fun at the same time.
Yeah, I like it because I feel like I don't really like going out as much as I maybe used to, but I love having people over to the shop and giving them a place to just sort of, I feel like so many of the things that you do for fun are all the same. You've seen one bar, you've seen them all kind of idea, but here people come and they just have this great time. They're like, I did not have any idea this existed here. It's just like a good time.
That's great. All right, so this is what I'm going to do with you now, brother. So I've only done it with a couple people, and I mean this in the most sincere way when I tell you that you're goofy enough that this will be great.
Oh God.
Yep. All right, so I call this. I don't know what we're going to call this. Our 2 minutes of terror or whatever the hell I'm going to call it. So I'm going to ask you.
Terrified.
I know. I'm going to ask you 20 questions in 2 minutes. You have to answer. You can't pass. You have to give me an answer. Most of them are super easy.
Okay, that's right.
Sounds good. I'm going to start with a fill in the blank. All right, I'm going to start my timer here. All right. Hey, bartender, can I have a
Bailey's on the rocks?
Nice. What's your favorite movie?
Jaws.
Nice. Burger or hot dog?
Burger.
Favorite ice cream?
Vanilla, man.
Yeah, nice. Me too. Blonde or brunette?
Oh God, who am I dating now? Brunette.
Favorite sports team?
Oh, geez, Louise. Fuck, I don't know. The Atlanta Braves.
Okay. What's the last thing online you ordered?
A hood for my Honda Element.
Nice. What's your highest bowling score?
165.
What's the last show you binge watched?
Oh, damn. Fleabag.
Nice. Oh, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
First car.
74 Super Beetle.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset for sure.
Okay. Have you ever roller skated?
Yes.
When? When's the last time you roller skated?
1982.
Okay, good. Are you a boob or an ass guy?
A boob.
Pool or ocean?
Ocean.
How many times do you exercise per week?
0.
When's the last time you shaved?
0. No.
All right. Are you a high five or knuckles guy?
Knuckles.
All right. What makes you sweaty?
This.
Okay, good. And dog or cat?
Cat.
Wow. And last, what is your biggest fear?
Expired food.
There you go. I don't think we're ever going to get expired food again. Oh, reminds me of the, what is it, the Naked Gun line. Do you gamble? Yes, every time I order out. That's
see that
awesome.
one.
Yes,
Yeah,
no,
that's
it's
good.
those are all excellent. All right, I have a couple more on here. The Velocity Channel featured a bike of yours too.
Yeah, that was the Cafe Racer TV show, and that's the bike we built for Katie Sackhoff, the actress, and she had seen the CNN interview that we talked about earlier, and she says in her own words she started stalking me on Twitter. I was like, haha.
Nice.
Um,
To be
but
stalked.
yeah, right, by hers. It's amazing. But yeah, so we built the bike, and they sent a crew here, and we sort of did it in a pretty abbreviated fashion, and then we went out to deliver it to her out in LA, and then that's when we met Jay Leno and all that stuff. So
I had a big weekend or big
pretty
week for you.
epic trip. Yeah.
So you were like, wait a second. I was just having fun building some cool shit over here, and now I'm all over the place.
All right. No, that was fun. That was when we were still in the garage.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. So you've had any other big celebrities or anything that bought your bikes? Small celebrities, medium celebrities?
Yeah. Shoot, I don't want to say because some of them might be, but we've in general we just had a really interesting client base, and some of them are all about the video stuff and being on, and others are like, I don't want to, I'm not into that part of it. They just like the bikes. So
just want one.
Yeah,
I respect that. That's really cool. So where do you go from here, brother? What's your plan? You got a plan?
Yeah, kind of. This 2020, it's like, I was thinking like, man, big things are going to happen this year, but so far just big disappointing things have happened. But no, the whole business, like, I'm sure people will take issue with it, but I think, and talking to most other builders, that it's almost impossible to have being a bike builder as your career and really make money on it. Like getting rich is kind of not even in the cards, but even just surviving and keeping it going and all that stuff is really tough, because that's why most people have another stream of, they even have apparel, or they have parts or whatever. But I started thinking a while back, I was like, we're functioning as entertainers. It's more like that than anything else, because you got 150,000 followers on Instagram, and they all weigh in on the bikes and say this, and they consume it like it was a movie or a TV show, or magazine or whatever.
Sure.
And they're really not your customers, but they're your fans, and most of them. So we try to I was just sort of like, how do we take that and do something that can't be copied? Because there are a couple of companies out there that just straight up copying what we're doing, copy our name, our logo, and everything, and they just enjoy this kind of ambiguity, like, oh, maybe somebody will think Classified Moto is whatever moto, and so I'm like, what can we do that you can't really copy, or if you did copy it, you'd look like a total idiot, trying to do that.
Right.
So that's how we kind of came up with the show, and the way we do the show is it's not a typical build show. It's not a how-to. A lot of people want us to do how do you do this, or I'm like, that's not really us, but there's 1,000 others out there if you want to watch those.
Sure.
So we really wanted to do something that was entertaining, and you sit down and you watch it like you'd watch an episode of Breaking Bad or something.
Sure.
And that's been the thing. So we've been talking. We've got a production company in the UK now that's working with us with the show, and got an agent in LA, and they're all working together to try to get the show sold. But
wow.
just
excellent.
Some of the, yeah, I hope so. But sometimes the things that the networks or the platforms will say are like, you really want that? Then they want us to fight more with each other or do stuff like that. I'm like, it just seems so, 15 years ago.
We don't need the fake drama. Those are the worst shows in the whole world. We want to see real people doing real stuff.
Yeah, well, tell some of the platforms that.
I will. They won't have to listen to what I had to say about that. Right. That's why keeping it under your own wing is kind of fun. But as long as you don't have to sacrifice your creativity and your personality, then it'll be great.
Yeah, no, it's fun. So doing that is great, and I want to do more content and more things that are just fun, but also don't it's not going to come back and like a bike in 2 months and like, well, now it's making a funny noise. Like, well,
right.
Because working with old bikes, and even if you do everything to them and try to make them as nice as you can, something's going to go wrong and somebody's going to be unhappy. But so
yeah,
I'd rather make them unhappy with my content than with my bike building skills.
Well, I think you're on the way to do that. I think you're great. No, I enjoy, and I have a really weird sense of humor in the way I view things. So everything you guys have put out for anything so far, I've been like, all right, you got the serious part, you got the fun parts, but it takes a certain kind of personality to blend those things together to actually come across genuine too, and you guys do it really, really well.
Oh, cool, man. I appreciate that.
You just tell you're having fun, and that's, I mean, what are we going to watch TV for or watch anything for anyway if you can't get your message across in the great way?
Yeah, I mean, that really is why you don't really do it for the money, because there's just not that much money in it. And I know somebody out there is going, look, I'm rolling in the money. What are you talking about? But I don't believe you, first of all.
I'd like him to raise his hand and comment on this podcast, too. I'd like to talk to him because he's got a secret nobody else does.
Yeah, that would be the most watched episode ever.
That's right. I laugh, too, because if you think about it, how many, and, you hear guys that struggle with this all the time, how many custom, doing their own thing, custom motorcycle builders actually can, make a living. I think you said it better, like survive doing it just to keep your thing going.
Yeah.
Nobody's out here rolling in the cash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of guys nowadays will have a job just like I did. I was in advertising for a while, then I got laid off and then decided to make it my job. And, I would never have been able to justify quitting my job. I had 3 kids at the time, still do, but they were a lot younger then. And I was like, there's no way I can just be a responsible dad and adult and say, I'm going to quit and do this crazy thing. But when it happened, I was like, well, the situation is different. I'm going to try to make a go of this. And, ever since then, it's like, a lot of people come and they always say, well, this is a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be or something, or this is like, I think they think that I'm going to be like rolling in, some kind of sweet car or something, but I've gotten good at, just making things keeping things as simple as possible and, having fun where we can. Yeah,
exactly. So lastly, what kind of, when people look back at John Ryland 50 years from now, I'm assuming that, maybe you'll still be around at 100, but you won't be able to relay everything, What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What's kind of the most important things to you that you want to leave behind, brother?
Wow. I'd say it's not going to be that I laid the cleanest bead of, when I was welding or something like that. Cause that's just not me, and I appreciate what I can and can't do, but I like it when I feel like something that I did inspired somebody to do something else, or left them with the kind of a good positive feeling. And that sounds kind of dorky, but even when we have people over here to the shop and it's this thing that's kind of terrifying, not to keep bludgeoning karaoke to death, but it is this thing. It's kind of this personal thing. You don't want to get up and get ridiculed, but you have 60 people here and everybody's just like, it looks like the most diverse kind of group that you could imagine, and nobody feels judged or anything. Everybody's just having a good fun time. I think just making people feel at home and making them feel like they're certainly welcome to what we're doing. I like thinking that I would be thought of that way, And as far as what we actually do, building bikes, I think one day people will kind of look at our style and go, well, there's cafe racers, there's choppers, there's bobbers, there's trackers, and then there's classified bikes, because I think if you look at the sort of what's out there now, there's this whole category that didn't really used to exist before we started doing what we're doing. And I know if this has a comment section that a lot of people are going to be like, girl, I saw one in 84, but
bring them on.
I do think that's kind of like that's something to sort of be proud of, is like, you really didn't used to see this all the time, and now you do. So
kind of creating your own genre of bikes.
I think so, but
which is kind of cool. And it's okay for you to think that. We don't care what other people think. If you cared what other people think, you wouldn't be sitting where you're at right now.
That's right.
It's hard not to care little comments, like you said. It's hard not to be, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, I was at one of the last guys I talked to. what's his name? Daryl Villanueva. He's a Bandit 9. I don't know if you've seen his work, but he is just some futuristic, really cool shit. Like totally. And he said the hardest thing for him in motorcycle building is that one comment out of 100 that says you suck, or this won't work, or
right.
It's like I feel like I have to tell them why it will work, and I'm like, hey, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
But it's hard to lay off it.
I know. At the same time, I feel myself like I have to remind myself. 10 people said something really amazing and really nice and out of their way to stop and type something in there. And it's like I try to make sure I at least like their comments or respond to them, because that you really have to keep things in perspective. It's like, man, so many people like this. This guy doesn't like it, but whatever.
Right. Well, at least he took the time out of his day to give you his attention,
yes,
to give you his energy. He just got to turn it into a good one. Well, brother, we're going to end up here, but before we leave, if you've listened to any of the shows, I don't know if you listened to Andrew's the whole way through, I would like you to give me 2-3 people that you think would be really interesting to hear a podcast like this for.
Yeah. Well, because the one show's coming up, the one motor show, Tor, looks like Thor, but it's Tor.
Right.
Tor Drake, if you know him. I mean,
we've actually already talked to him about Jackass and about all this other crazy shit he's done. Yeah,
he was on Jackass.
Yeah, he did. He was in Jackass 2. He rode the big loop. I guess he had to do everything like that. Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's a great guy.
He is. He's just one of the guys, like just the nicest dude ever.
Seriously.
I don't get the feeling that he goes home and screams at his kids and stuff like that or anything. He's just like nice to everybody and
chill
and just and so anyway, well, he's good.
And he sings his other character's alter ego sings karaoke too. Did you know that? Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, check him out.
I like him even more now. All right, well, don't do that one because you've already done that. But,
we call him back up.
Yeah. I would say I really like, I don't know if you know Gasser Customs. They were with us, Adam Gaspic and Lisa Sierra. They're their husband and wife team, and they've got this cool little shop in out in LA, and they've been on the trips with us and stuff before. And they're just, again, like, she's like a actress, and he just does the bike thing, all the time, but she's real hands-on too at the shop. But they're super cool. And I miss
How do you
those
spell
guys.
the name of their company?
Gasser, Gasser.
Okay.
Customs. And but
they sound
otherwise
super interesting.
Yeah, they're just a fun couple to have on there. And then I think Greg Hageman, if you know him.
I don't.
Greg's done, he's a real craftsman. He's done stuff for a long time. He and Classified both are kind of known for doing Viragos, old Yamaha Viragos, XBs, which is, nobody would ever probably look at a Virago and be like, yeah, that's what I need to, but he does amazing things with them, and he's always, we've always gotten along really well. He's just a real nice guy, and I don't know, Greg.
Does he have a name for his company? Yeah.
I think it's now Hageman Custom Motorcycles.
Hageman Customs. Okay.
But it's Hageman.
Hey, I spelled something right for once in my life.
Hey, nice. Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of others. I would probably those are the people I think, and that was 2 for 1 because
hey, that's
Adam
good.
and Lisa. Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. We will rack up the score on that. Well, nice. Hey, buddy, I really appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm happy to do it. It's fun.
Yeah. Am I going to see you at any shows this year? Anything? I know you said you maybe not at the one show. You're going to be anywhere else?
I don't know. I want to see if there's anything a little closer this way, but yeah, it's not on my radar right now just because we got so much going on and so much of it is like
there's karaoke to do.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on.
I know. I got to look for the next big thing so I can pay rent.
Well, I wish you luck on your show too. I think that's going to be great. So just hang in there and keep positive attitude. You're going to be awesome, man.
All right, I will.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, John Ryland, founder, creator, custom. What the hell am I saying?
They're
Classified
custom,
Moto.
That's fine, whatever.
We'll just call him that. Don't copy him, and just shut up if you got a problem with it.
Well, I appreciate it.
Hey, buddy, thank you so much. And you know what? If you